you very much, John. I think I'm going to open up for some discussion in a minute, but I think some of my observations or reflections on what the panel has done. Obviously, I've followed the papers going out and I've watched some of the debate going, but I haven't deliberately, chief executives of the three national organisations, Community Development Exchange, Federation for Community Development Learning and ourselves, were not involved in the panel and the operations of it all, contributing directly. And so it's very refreshing to be able to step in at the end of the process and look at the report and the recommendations. And I think there are some big challenges there, and certainly it feels, you know, the benefit of hindsight, but actually look where we started from for setting up the panel was actually, I feel like we are in the right place now for some of the recommendations the panel has come out with. And I think some of the interesting bit are those snakes and ladders. Yes, there is something around coalition building, around not just the three community development national organisations, but within a lot of the voluntary and community sector bodies at the moment. But we have, you know, we need to be unified in our shared values, but also very respectful of our differences, and we need to be able to be strong enough to say that. We haven't all got to say the same things all of the time. And the tectonic plates are shifting, and we need to be open as organisations in terms of the effect of some of the changes at the moment and what might be left of the sector. You know, we're all talking very separately about the changes to our organisations, but collectively we also need to be sharing that and talking about how we work together to support it for the benefit of communities. So at that point, I'd just like to open up for discussion. I would say I'd take some questions in groups of three, and if anybody would like to raise questions with John. First
Hi.
up there.
I'm Annette Rimmer from the Federation for Community Development Learning. I was just wondering if you talked at any length about the training of community development workers, because some of the projects and some of the things you mentioned that maybe didn't have the impact that was intended, perhaps what was needed was better or more training for the community activists or whoever who's doing that work. So I just wondered if you talked about it, because some of us spent quite a lot of time discussing and laying down the national occupational standards for community development work, and did they figure in your deliberations?
John, would you like to respond?
Just a few thoughts, because I was the chair of the panel, I'm not an expert, and so I hope others will join in this, so these are just my individual reflections. Is it Alison? Annette, sorry. Your point about training, I think, goes with the idea of support, doesn't it? I think it can often be very lonely, very exposed, very debilitating, actually, and we need to think about how you support people in very exposed frontline positions. I personally want to question the idea of competency frameworks and tick boxes as the way of doing it. I think the apprenticeship model has something more to be said for it, where you get groups of people working alongside each other with different levels of experience, and then a lot of the development of skills on the job, which may need to be reflected upon, may need to be theorised, they may need to be supplemented, may need to be accredited. But I'm not certain myself that competency frameworks have always produced that sense of formation that the French talk about, which really skills people up to do the job. I mean, and I do a lot of work on leadership training for the civil service, for the police, the fire service, for local government and health, and we're increasingly moving away from tick boxes in trying to develop a set of core values, core skills, core capabilities to manage a very complicated setup.
That's exactly what the NOS
is doing. Okay,
yes.
good. All right, well, I shouldn't tilt it with a bit of pressure then.
That's the first question.
My name is John Fitzmaurice. I'm involved in a self-help housing organisation. I also work for Cass Business School, where I'm going to say their views. I go back for a while, actually, and while you were working in Coventry, I was in Birmingham in the 70s, and I was was the Saltley CD, the CD Community Development Project. Saltley, remember those? Yeah, with the Emeritus studies, yeah. So you go to the 70s, you fast forward a bit, you know, you get to the late coming back in, and you've got the sort of policy action team reports, a great tranche of fantastic reports about this one about self-help, this one about social enterprise. You know, there's been so many attempts to try and mobilise people into sort of, you know, capture the sort of energy that we've been talking about here. But it's depressing, not depressing, but it's sort of a continuing challenge what to do. I suppose there's lots of things I could say, but I know I'm asking a question, so I'll say that one of the things that disturbs me is that a lot of community development perhaps falls into the remit of various big charities, albeit in different arenas. Yeah. It seems to me, as I've been a trustee of some big charities, you know, the bigger they get, the more inward they get, and the less they get, the less inclined they are to be involved in perhaps some community activities, because they're involved in maintaining themselves and developing the brand and increasing their fundraising. Yeah. And I think that perhaps is a problem. Yeah. How we can, you know, try and break out of that sort of that vicious circle. And finally, I mean, when I started out, sadly, I thought it would be a good idea to be a social worker, because you know that was changed the world, you know. But now everybody wants to join think tanks and generally sort of, you know, involve themselves in policy. So we need to get a bit more, mobilise more people, radicalise people, and get a bit more grassroots activity going on. I'll let go of it. Sorry if that wasn't a very good question.
Fitzsimmons from Cass and Birmingham, via Birmingham and Saltley CDP.
Fitzmaurice.
Okay, Fitzmaurice, sorry. The thing I picked up most from you was the importance of focusing on outcomes rather than being just wedded to a method. And I think that is one of the things that can be used to help to mobilise and focus activity. And I'm quite encouraged by the fact that the Total Place pilot programmes that were started in 16 pilot areas under the previous government, some of that work is continuing under the new government, and the new programme of pilot projects around community budgeting are also getting this. And the thing that's exciting about that is that they are all focusing on concrete problems facing specific groups of people at community level. There's a whole programme in Swindon now focused on work in depth with just 100 families, and it's involved workers going to live in the same streets and the neighbourhood for a year with those families, sharing in their lives and working with them to identify the programme that they would like to develop their own and improve their lives. And these are local authorities starting to discover community development principles and practices. I would like to feel that that is a way of moving forward by engagement with the material problems that communities are facing and linking up grassroots action, community development skills, and whatever the local state can add.